Almost 4 years ago, Hong Kong activist and devout Catholic Jimmy Lai was imprisoned in Hong Kong for his pro-democracy work. His son traveled to Washington this week to ask lawmakers to put more pressure on China's government to free him before it's too late. Founder of the pro-democracy Hong Kong newspaper Apple Daily, Lai has been vocal in his criticism of China's authoritarian government. He is currently in the middle of what many have called a show trial over his activism. After numerous pauses, his months-long trial will begin again in November. But until then, the 76-year-old Catholic remains in solitary confinement, with reports he's being denied proper medical care and even Holy Communion. His son, Sebastien, joins us in studio to discuss Lai's work, the role of his Catholic faith, and why quick action on his release is more important than ever. Sebastien Lai, we are so grateful to be speaking with you today about your father. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Your father is on trial under Hong Kong's national security law. For those not familiar with that law and with this case, why has your father been imprisoned?
Yeah, so the national security law was passed as a consequence of the 2019 pro-democracy protests. And it was essentially a law to criminalize all pro-democracy expressions. My father, for the last 30 years, has used his newspaper and his resources to campaign for democracy. He knew that in the end of the day, freedom mattered much more than having an additional zero to your net worth. And he was always a thorn on the government side. He was always someone who held the powerful to account. With his journalism, with his campaigning, and when they passed the national security law, they used that as a means, as an excuse to arrest him.
To that point, your father is nearly 77. He's been in prison for more than 3.5 years. There are reports that he's being denied independent medical care. We know he suffers from diabetes. How is his health? What do we know?
So, it really breaks my heart because he's been in jail for almost 4 years now, but he's held in solitary confinement. He's being denied all sunlight. Solitary confinement is 23 hours and 10 minutes a day, and Hong Kong goes up to around 100 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer, if not more, very humid. And he doesn't have air conditioning, so he's almost being baked alive. And so, as you can imagine, for someone who's almost 77, his health has gone down quite a bit. He recently couldn't even go to trial because of how sick he was. It really is vindictive because of his belief, because of what he stood for. The government is punishing him, torturing him for that. And I'll give you another example. He was recently denied communion because he is a very devout Catholic. When you're by yourself in solitary confinement, it really is just between you and God in some sense, and they know that, and they want to weaken his faith, and they know how important communion is, and they've denied it to him.
Can you expand on that? How has your father's Catholic faith sustained him through this trial?
It's been a pillar. It's kept him. I think it's kept him strong mentally, and it's kept him sane. I have met a lot of people who say they're praying for my father, I'm incredibly moved by that, because I know that he would also be incredibly moved by that, to know that even though he is in solitary confinement, even though the government tells him that nobody cares about him, that he is just by himself, that there are people praying for him, and there are people telling him through their prayers that he is not alone, and he does not suffer alone.
Your father's international legal team just recently submitted an urgent appeal to the United Nations Special Rapporteur on torture and inhuman and degrading treatment, and it highlights your father's prolonged detention and solitary confinement. As you mentioned earlier, he's held in his cell 23 hours and 10 minutes each and every single day. What more can you tell us about this appeal to the UN, and what action do you want to see be taken?
So, I would like the UN to put a lot of pressure, to ramp up the pressure on the Hong Kong government, to tell them that this is absolutely unacceptable. This is akin to torture. and push to see my father released. Really tell the Hong Kong government that what they are doing to my father is a travesty.
Sebastien, why is this case important to our global Catholic audience? Why should we be paying attention?
He did the right thing despite knowing that there could be very real threats to his life. He campaigned for democracy for the last 30 years. He knew that he was doing it because there is such thing as right or wrong, and that he was on the side of what is right. And then when the national security law came down, when everybody around him told him that he had to leave because he was one of the main targets, he knew the responsibility he had to his journalists, to the other pro-democracy campaigners. He knew that if he could have left, but a lot of people might not be able to leave. And he stayed in Hong Kong to defend them, to act as a shield and as a lightning rod. Because he believed that if he was there, a lot of the attention of the government would be focused on him and would allow a lot of people to leave, to at least be a bit safer. And so, like, the values he stands for are values that we as Catholic not only want to see more in the world, but are values that we are proud of.
Finally, Sebastien, I mean, you've traveled here to the U.S., to our nation's capital this week. You've testified this week at a Senate Special Committee hearing all the way from Taipei in Taiwan. What's your goal? What do you want our audience to know?
That my father needs to be saved. He is, because of his age, he could, and the deterioration of his health, he could die anytime behind bars. And so I'm here in Washington to raise attention to his case, but to also ask the U.S. government, who have been very supportive, to up the pressure on Hong Kong, to tell them that there's no benefit in having a man like my father, a man like Jimmy Lai, die in jail. And hopefully through all this pressure, we will save him. We will see him free.
Sebastien Lai, God bless you, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.